You're watching London Weekend Television.
From the headquarters of ITN, News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
Anger and confusion over Bosnia's trapped children. Major furious, he orders another rescue mission. Results on alert after seaside bomb attacks. And what fingerprints tell you about your health. Good evening. The Prime Minister promised today that Britain will take more of Sarajevo's injured children after an RAF medical team were critical of the UN's evacuation list. Only 2 of those coming to Britain are children, and the RAF found other young patients not on the list who, in their view, require urgent treatment. They're described as another Irma, 1 4-year-old girl with meningitis. Mr. Major is said to be livid. ITN's David Chater reports from Sarajevo.
So many children, so much that should be done for them. But for Wing Commander Andy Mitchell and Nurse Marie Cunningham, confronted with the reality of life in a children's ward in Sarajevo, the cruel truth is that most of them aren't even marked down for evacuation. That look of hope in children's eyes as they pass by. The sound and sight of despair as mothers tended their sick babies. It all made the trip down the darkened corridors of Kosovo Hospital a harrowing one. The children of Sarajevo reached out to them, but only 2 are going on the planned flight to Britain. The rest are condemned to remain in a ward where there's no light, no running water, not even proper food or medical supplies.
I'm just so surprised about it all. Although you've seen it all on the news, seen it on the TV, I just find it all so shocking. I'd hate it. I'd hate the fact that you can't go to the linen room and pick up a clean sheet, that you can't turn the tap on and wash your hands. You know, not to be able to put babies in clean nappies. Must be awful.
But one of the most disturbing cases they came across was 4-year-old Belma, a victim of meningitis. She could die within days if she doesn't get out of here. But she's not on anybody's list. The Wing Commander said her plight was just as bad as Irma's, the young girl who first moved the world to take action.
We came on this trip originally to take back children. I would hope that if the hospitals in England keep that offer open, then there may be the chance still to get these children out that we've seen this morning.
Demir has bone cancer. It can't be treated here. He'll never be evacuated, though, because his parents are trapped in central Bosnia. The UN rules state he can't be flown out without them.
He's a very lovely boy, and we love him very much. I think it will be very nice if we see him one day as a nice and healthy and lucky boy.
But for now, this hospital with its toilets backed up with sewage, this hospital where they have to wash and reuse their bandages, this hospital where the doctors and nurses perform miracles in impossible and insanitary conditions will remain their only hope. That, above all else, was the message the British Wing Commander and nurse took with them today as they ran for a plane that would take them back to a place of safety and sanity. David Chater, News at 10, Sarajevo.
The United Nations Refugee Organization was quick to deny there was anything wrong with the choice of patients for evacuation. Their spokeswoman in Geneva, Silvana Foer, said, "We cannot make Sarajevo a supermarket where countries can come and pick who they want." ITN's Joe Andrews reports on how the original list of evacuees was compiled.
The Prime Minister, who came home from a trip to see the Swedish leader today, is little short of furious about the shambles that his rescue mission is turning into. Downing Street believes it's been misled by the United Nations, which said there were 41 emergency cases, half of them children. There aren't 41, 4 of them are children, and the most desperate cases don't seem to qualify under the UN's rules. Tonight it was made very clear that Mr. Major wants that list added to and got right.
This is by no means the end of the operation. If needed, there will be a second plane standing by to bring out more patients when the United Nations staff have fully identified those and their relatives.
200 people have been flown out of Sarajevo in the last 18 months, but requests for patients to leave are running at 25 a week. However, to get on the UN's list, You must have a life-threatening condition. You must need treatment not available in Sarajevo, and the authorities must be convinced that you'll benefit from going. Tonight, the UN said some children, including Belma Shalaka, were simply too ill to go, and their spokeswoman defended the lack of other children on the list.
We cannot make Sarajevo into a supermarket where countries come and pick. We'll have one of those and one of those and one of those. We have people on a list that has been agreed upon with Bosnian doctors and UN doctors from 4 different countries, and this list are of the people most in need and most capable of traveling today.
However needy others are, I do know that the intention was to bring as many of the suffering children as possible, and that we're determined to do.
Tonight, the hospital plane that will take whoever the UN agrees to send out left Britain for Italy. On board, staff are taking £100,000 worth of antibiotics and anaesthetics for the hospital at Sarajevo. But it's unlikely to stop accusations that the government's sudden response has been ill thought out.
Within the last 3 days, there's been some sort of hyperactivity, as though the British have just discovered that there are children and adults who are in need in Sarajevo. Frankly, it leads to the conclusion that they really haven't been paying attention, that they've not been concerned.
The Prime Minister has dramatically increased Britain's humanitarian contribution to Bosnia this week. It comes as the threat of fresh military action, airstrikes, appears to be receding. Tonight it looks as though the Serbs are preparing at least to ease the siege of Sarajevo. Joe Andrews, News at 10, Downing Street.
Firebombers targeted a seaside resort today, bringing fears of a new IRA campaign against holidaymakers. Incendiaries exploded in 4 Bournemouth stores, but police later disarmed a much larger device, powerful enough to destroy the town's pier where 800 holidaymakers had enjoyed a show earlier. No one was injured. There were seafront searches too in Brighton and in Torquay. Robert Hall reports from Bournemouth.
A day of chaos on the south coast began at dawn.
All right, so can we keep one away?
There was no warning. Police and fire crews dealing with 7 incendiary devices scattered throughout Bournemouth. 2 were in this furniture store and had already caused substantial damage before emergency services could reach them.
Owing to the number of incidents going on around, I decided the best thing to do was to get the store searched. So we started a search of the store, whereby we found a severe fire in the basement.
Commuters heading for work found the entire town centre sealed off as bomb disposal teams moved from site to site, making the devices safe. At 9 o'clock, there was a second and potentially more serious alert. Search teams had already found 1 device on Bournemouth Pier. Now they discovered a second, more powerful bomb.
Clearly, it could have caused substantial injury and loss of life. We're attributing it really to the provisional IRA. It's similar in many respects to other campaigns elsewhere in the country, and in fact the devices are very similar to those which have been found in those campaigns.
Late this morning, Army experts defused the device and took it away for examination. As they did so, there were further alerts elsewhere on the south coast. Coded warnings closing pier and beaches at Brighton and leading to full-scale searches at Torquay. In Bournemouth tonight, the disruption did little to dampen spirits as visitors gathered for the evening performances. The Pier's homeless cast rehoused in another show.
We will win through. They're not going to beat us.
Police have appealed to everyone to be on their guard. They hope tapes from seafront surveillance cameras will hold further clues. Bournemouth is putting a brave face on it tonight, but the full cost of today's attacks, both in terms of damage and in loss of trade, have yet to be counted. If this is a start of a new campaign, it couldn't have come at a worse time. Robert Hall, News at 10, Bournemouth.
Claims that 15 more pits are to be closed by March were described by British Coal tonight as pure speculation, but they weren't categorically denied either. Reports say the government's accepted the economic argument for shutting down the mines. If it happens, 15,000 jobs will go. Here's our business correspondent, Greg Wood.
1 million tonnes of coal piling up at the pithead every month. Nobody wants it. Certainly not the main customers, the electricity generators. Next year, they'll cut their orders by 10 million tonnes. By March, British Coal could be running just 12 mines. Currently, there are 30 deep pits. Each produces around 1.5 million tonnes a year, a total of 45 million. But British Coal estimates demand will barely reach 40 million tonnes a year. Open cast supplies 12 million, which leaves a requirement of 28 million at best from deep mines. With growing stockpiles eating further into requirements, it's feared at least half the deep mines could go.
Since last October to March 1993, it's cost the British coal industry over £1 billion in redundancy payments and other associated payments, and the Tory government would rather spend money destroying jobs than preserving them. That's the economics of the madhouse.
Last October, proposals to close 31 pits caused uproar. Faced with rebellion on the backbenches, the government came up with a plan to reprieve 12 pits. But those 12 now face almost certain closure, and rebel Tory MPs are back on the attack again.
I think some other closures probably were inevitable, given the fact that government didn't realign and reorganise the market as many of us would have wished to.
Well, I am absolutely flabbergasted. I am appalled. It is a most disgraceful situation.
18 pits have closed since last October. 18 more are now under threat. Unless new markets are found, another 15,000 jobs will be cast on the scrap heap of the British coal industry.
Trawler skippers have welcomed the report calling on the government to abandon plans to restrict the number of days they can put to sea. A Common Select Committee said they would diminish fish stocks, not conserve them. Our Scotland correspondent Hugh Pym has this report.
Back in harbour today after fishing the Firth of Clyde, and good news for these trawlermen and thousands of others in British waters. Their attacks on the hated tie-up scheme, a scheme to conserve fish by ordering boats to stay in port, endorsed by a committee of MPs.
I think that's the best thing that could have happened to the government. Because, I mean, this tie-up scheme is beyond a joke, really.
It's beyond a joke for skippers like Alexander Jack. The government plan would only let him fish for 5 months next year.
I wouldn't have been making enough money to keep my house, and I'd go and I'm just going to lose everything, really. It's totally ridiculous, you know.
Fishermen say it's ridiculous. The Select Committee says the government plan is draconian and could be catastrophic for the industry.
In a way, it's sort of hacking at individual businesses without really allowing any alternative. And of course it will put a lot of people out of business. It will cause a great deal of financial suffering.
The problem is that if we don't take measures to conserve fish stocks, we shall not have a fishing industry. It's as serious as that.
The government has given fishermen till the end of September to come up with an alternative to its proposals. But a solution to the problem that threatens fishing communities around the country seems as far away as ever. Hugh Pym, News at 10 on the Firth of Clyde.
Coming next tonight, as the RAF prepares to raise the crashed helicopter, friends speak of the cadets who love to fly. The tigers facing starvation in China. Why conservationists fear they're being bred to make ancient medicines. And opening up bus services to competition. Does deregulation mean more choice or more chaos?
It's ridiculous. Somebody's going to get killed along here if they're not careful what they're doing. You just can't move for them.
Hello, I'm here to ask a member of the public to give us his impression of Mercury and their telephone company. Let's choose an ordinary Joe at random. Hello there. We've never met before, have we?
No, I don't think so.
So tell me, what is it about Mercury you find so terribly attractive?
Well, the introduction of competition into some markets can bring real customer benefits. That's what makes them like Virgin.
Yes, quite. And what do you think of Mercury's excellent pricing policy?
Well, since 1984, the cost of everyone's long-distance and international phone calls have come down by an average of 40%. Now, in the case of our company...
Yes, thank you.
When Virgin started flying to America...
Goodbye! So remember, Mercury is about, so don't miss out.
Papa? Nicole! Some are happy with sheer power. Others prefer more refinement. Happily, you can now have both. The 16-valve Renault Clio.
These opticians' lenscrafters told me they could make a proper pair of glasses, even bifocals, in about an hour. We'll see. This lad knows his stuff. Let's see you do it in an hour. Or not.
At LensCrafters, we do our lens crafting on the spot.
58 minutes. Could I get them cheaper somewhere else?
No, the LensCrafters guarantee promises unbeatable prices.
You can't argue with that, can you?
LensCrafters Opticians. Quality crafted glasses in about an hour.
Can a photo really be this good? New Fujicolor Super G. So real it's unreal.
For the fastest way around London this summer, you can't beat the Tube.
Well, now, where do you root out what you want? With 5 sections, the Thompson Directory is bound to know.
From mighty Norman Castle to ancient cathedral, a Victorian high street so loved by Charles Dickens, from historic naval dockyard to a Napoleonic fortress, Rochester upon Medway. With so much to see and do, no wonder it's called the City of Great Expectations.
Neighbours of the 3 cadets who died in yesterday's RAF helicopter crash talked today about their love of flying. The Ministry of Defence hopes to lift the machine from the bottom of the lake in Snowdonia tomorrow. ITN's Harold Jones has our report.
The flags have been flying at half-mast at RAF Valley, an airbase in mourning for 3 young cadets.
We've lost 3 young lives. We're looking after their families here, so we're very closely involved with it. It's a dreadful thing for them, and that's where our hearts must lie first.
Mark Oakden's family and friends knew he had one burning ambition.
He wanted to be a pilot in the RAF. He'd just taken his GCSEs, which I would imagine he'll have come out with straight A's, and going for his A-levels, and to be a pilot, that's all he wanted. It's ironic.
The class of 93 at the East Lancashire wing of the Air Training Corps has lost 2 other young faces, Christopher Bailey and Amanda Whitehead. Today in Lancashire there were flowers for Christopher and memories of Amanda.
Amanda was a lovely girl, very committed, very friendly, very involved, and wanted to help people, wanted to be of service, and I would imagine that would have been what prompted her to be in the RAF cadets anyway.
Amanda's schoolmate Sarah Coker was the only air cadet to survive the crash. Her father says it won't deter Sarah from a career in the RAF.
If anything, this will strengthen us. She's one of them people that should go on doing something. I mean, this is not going to deter at all.
Pictures of the crash shot by holidaymakers will be invaluable to the air accident investigation. They show the rear rotor was not working normally in the final seconds before the Wessex plunged into the water. After impact, the helicopter floated for just a short time, but long enough for 3 aircrew and Sarah Coker to make their escape. An RAF investigation team has visited Lake Padan and begun collecting evidence for a board of inquiry. Their next task is to raise the helicopter from the bed of this lake. A delicate operation, but one which holds the key to explaining this tragedy. Howell Jones, News at 10, Llanberis.
69 rare Siberian tigers are starving to death in a breeding centre in China, apparently in the name of conservation. Tiger bones are a prized ingredient of homeopathic medicine there, and the suspicion is that the animals were being farmed for profit. Our science correspondent Lawrence McGinty has seen evidence of the shocking conditions there.
The Hengdao Breeding Centre was set up 8 years ago to breed rare Siberian tigers to release into the wild to prop up the natural population of just over 200 worldwide. But conservationists like the Suffolk-based Tiger Trust have growing doubts about the centre's credentials. This film, covertly taken by the Trust, shows the breeding centre is on the same site as a huge farm for mink, raccoon and silver fox furs, both owned by the Native Animal Byproduct Company. Furthermore, cubs are taken early from their mothers and run together, making it impossible for them to learn the vital hunting skills necessary to survive in the wild. And when the Trust discovered that the centre held the skins and bones of 26 tigers in a cold store, they were convinced Hengdao was in fact farming tigers to supply the bones for highly lucrative traditional Chinese medicines. They also fear the centre has been carrying out experiments in embryo transfer to increase the pregnancy rate. Mike Day of the Tiger Trust, posing as a potential buyer, struck a deal for £20,000 worth of tiger bone wine, even though it's banned by the Chinese government.
Within days of the Chinese State Council announcement prohibiting the use of tiger bone, they immediately cut off funding. The director told me at the beginning of this week that food and finances run out on the 20th of this month. That's in about a week's time. His words to me were that the tigers will starve to death.
Whatever the truth about this centre, many of the 69 tigers here could soon be dead.
Other news, at least 39 people died, including a British woman, after an hotel collapsed in Thailand. Jane Maudsley from Newcastle upon Tyne was staying at the Royal Plaza Hotel in Korat with her husband. He escaped unhurt. They'd been to visit their daughter. 2 British climbers set a world record tonight, completing the first non-stop crossing of the Alps. Simon Jenkins and Martin Moran, both professional mountain guides, climbed all 74 peaks in just 51 days. And Brenda Dean, once the country's most powerful woman union leader, has been made a life peer. She was General Secretary of the print union Sogat and came to prominence during the Wapping dispute. When Parliament comes back in the autumn, the Queen's speech is likely to include plans to deregulate the buses in the nation's capital. It's already happened in other parts of the country like Darlington, where the verdict seems to be that there have been few benefits and more congestion. Tonight's Focus in Britain looks at how competition has affected our most popular form of transport. The reporter is Caroline Kerr.
In Darlington town centre, congestion around the marketplace is causing quite a few problems this morning.
Every hour, 239 buses pass through this small market town. That's more than 3 chasing every single passenger. People here say they don't have to queue for buses anymore. The buses queue for them. You might think they'd be delighted. Not so.
I think there are far too many buses now. There's no doubt about that.
It's just so ridiculous. You know, just congesting all the traffic all the time.
Somebody's going to get killed along here if they're not careful what they're doing. You just can't move for them.
Most of the drivers aren't pleased either. They say there isn't room for so many private operators. The battle for passengers was bad enough when it was just one company against another.
They started bringing in more drivers, more buses, cutting us up, blocking us in, not letting us out, pinching passengers. And then all of a sudden another bus company came in, which is what you call your bus. We nickname it any bus. And since they've came in, it's chaos again. Now we're at war with them.
This is the man they want to do battle with.
Welcome aboard.
Andrew Guest isn't just a driver, he owns Darlington's newest bus company and seems to be the only one who likes what's happening here.
Well, there's no doubt that deregulation gave me an opportunity to start up, and it's an opportunity I'm very glad to have had. We're offering people a good service, I believe, because we've got good drivers, and I'm sure that's what people want.
Of course, in Darlington, people don't seem to want the number of buses they've got now. However, since deregulation, more than 6,500 operators have been able to set up throughout Britain.
Deregulation clearly isn't working in Darlington. And across the country, the success of the policy has been patchy, to say the least. The fact is, fewer people are travelling and fares have gone up since deregulation was introduced in 1986.
Here in London, they're still awaiting deregulation. While the biggest fleet in the country prepares for the change, even private bus operators admit the capital can expect some teething problems.
Clearly, there are a number of towns and cities in the country where congestion has occurred in the initial stages of competition, but generally that settles down after a while.
But campaigners say London will face some problems all its own, among them how to keep the travel card, a single ticket valid on all public transport, at a time when different private companies all want to share in the price.
Nothing in the government's proposals, as we currently understand them, will prevent the sort of things that have happened elsewhere in the country from coming to London. The clogging up of city centre streets with rival bus operators, the loss of network benefits like the travel card, and potentially the loss of less profitable services, evenings, weekends, in suburban areas, and so on.
At the bank, there is little sense of the rule of the road.
It's 60 years since London's buses were last deregulated, and people remember those pirate days as chaotic. Today, the capital is once again preparing for a change which it hopes will bring innovation and improved efficiency. But it fears could be a retrograde step. Caroline Kerr, News at 10, Central London.
Soccer news, soccer transfer news. Queen's Park Rangers have finally accepted an offer from Arsenal for their England winger Andy Sinton. Arsenal should sign him next week for £2.7 million. And some late news. In the last half hour, Britain, the United States and France have set a deadline for new sanctions against Libya unless they hand over the two men suspected of bombing Pan Am Flight 103, which exploded over Lockerbie. The sanctions will come into effect on October 1st. And finally, news today that the reading of palms may have some real use after all. New research suggests that some medical problems, like high blood pressure, can be predicted from a study of a subject hand. We sent Anya Sitharam to put the theory to the test.
I don't know, you'll find it in your heart.
What many have dismissed as superstition has now found some basis in science. Your hands contain clues to your future health. It's possible to tell whether you're likely to suffer from high blood pressure by the patterns on your fingertips. Using birth records of people born in Preston 60 years ago, researchers wanted to prove that high blood pressure in adults can be traced back to the womb. Fingerprints form within weeks of conception and are influenced by the circulation of blood from the mother. Fingerprint patterns break down into three types. For instance, uncomplicated patterns, such as the loop and the arch, are healthy. But whorls like these show impaired fetal development linked to raised blood pressure in later life. Continue looking at your hands while the scientist explains.
We'd see this mainly as an indication for focusing research into the causes of high blood pressure, into the way in which the mother's influences, her nutrition and health, affect the development of her baby in the womb.
Scotland Yard's fingerprint experts were brought in to investigate. Out of 4 million prints, they found that whorls amounted to 26%. Palmists are unsurprised.
Wisdom going back for years, it's relevant, it doesn't come out of nowhere. And hopefully they'll explore it further and it will actually do some good.
While for scientists it's proof that your earliest days determine your future, for the unscientific it shows that your fate lies in your hands.
Our fate is to end News at 10 here tonight. From all of us, good night and have a good weekend.
Hello again. Well, some of us had a small taste of summer today, but that's all going to change tomorrow. It's going to become generally unsettled, and there may even be some heavy and thundery showers in the southeast. Now, here's the reason for that. If we take a look at tomorrow's wind flow chart, you can see these areas of low pressure over France. They're going to move northwards across the channel, bringing those heavy and thundery showers during the afternoon. But first of all, let's take a look at the rest of tonight, and still some outbreaks of rain around in the north and west. For the rest of us, though, it's a mainly dry night with broken cloud and clear spells. Quite a cool night as well, temperatures around 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. Now, tomorrow, after a dry and bright start for many parts, things are going to become more unsettled in the southeast, with those showers creeping across the channel, and as I mentioned, one or two of those could be heavy and quite thundery as well. To the north of that, more in the way of sunshine, but as the day goes on, there will be more persistent rain or showers by the evening. For the north, the day is going to become brighter and drier, with perhaps just the odd scattered shower after a rather wet and dull start to the day. Now, temperatures tomorrow, rather warm and muggy in the southeast, with those winds from the continent, temperatures reaching 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. Now, as we've been doing every Friday throughout the summer, we're going to take a look at one of our British resorts, and it just happens to be Bangor in County Down. Now, for Saturday, it does look like a mixture of sunshine and showers, temperatures reaching around 17 degrees Celsius with only a light southerly breeze. On to Sunday then, and it looks like more showers, but they are going to die out throughout the day. Sunshine coming out, temperatures 18, still light winds. That's about it from me then. Good night.
Next week on GMTV, Saint and Greavesy kick off with their views on the start of the football season. We remember the King on the anniversary of his death, and the owner of Heartbreak Hotel tells a sad tale. There's hotshot Charlie Sheen, and U2's Adam Clayton takes the covers off his romance with Naomi. GMTV, there's no better way to wake up.
After the break, the news and weather in and around London tonight with Anna Maria Ash.
Annual Achiever Award. Who'd have thought it a year ago? You see, I've been at NatWest for 20 years, quite happy when, I don't know, I started to feel that perhaps I needed something new, a change. Then someone suggested moving into pensions and life. Well, at first, the training was hard, I'll admit. A bit like being back at school. At my age. But I passed with flying colours, so to speak, and I was out on the road. And then, do you know what really stood me in good stead? It was my 20 years at the bank. I knew about people, you see. That's what I do now, really. Go out, meet people, sort out their problems. I've never looked back. How NatWest changed my life. Never looked back. You could use that in one of your advertisements. Never looked back.
When your teeth are sensitive, it hurts, right to the very centre of the tooth. Sensodyne F quickly calms the nerves that cause the pain of sensitive teeth.
Oh, good heavens, what's that you've got there?
That's my new electric ceramic hog cooker. Oh! And you watch this, I bet you like this, look.
Turn the knob on and
whoop! That's the halogen. See? Just comes up straight away and starts cooking.
Is it very easy to clean or...
Oh, yeah. Just wiped over and it's clean.
It's wonderful, isn't it? I can even make my face up in that.
For all your creature comforts, Cook Electric.
The car in front has a unique lean burn engine that's the most powerful in its class. It has a more spacious and refined interior. And with up to 57 miles per gallon, it's the most economical in its class. The car in front has the confidence of a 3-year, 60,000-mile manufacturer's warranty. From £10,625, the car in front is a Toyota, the Carina E, now built in Britain.
As you can imagine, on the Sunday Express we get a lot of inside information, particularly on London, and we pack it all into our special London section. We find out what's going on in here, who's doing what over there, and we tell you how you might bump into the smartest Londoners. With money-saving vouchers, it's free every week in the Sunday Express.
You've probably noticed that ads for John Smith's Bitter tend to concentrate on the beer. That's because John Smith's has a unique, full-bodied flavour that deserves no-nonsense advertising. In fact, it's been a constant battle to keep the ad people at bay with all their gimmicks. But thank goodness, John Smith...
Oh, very clever. Oh, no. Get off!
Millions of women suffer from thrush every year. If you're one of them, I've got important news. You can now buy an effective treatment for vaginal thrush from your chemist without a prescription. Canesten works overnight with a single application. So if you get thrush, get Canesten.
Fine, you're grounded. I don't care!
Home truths about family life in Britain. Watch the Inside Track on Parenting, August the 29th on ITV.
No living generation has been left untouched by these two of the world's greatest popular music success stories. Soon, ITV presents The Jacksons and Sinatra.
Nance, this is the moment. What about us?
This family is going to stay together. Starting on 2 successive weekends, The Jacksons and Sinatra. Soon.
Now on LWT, Friday's late edition of London Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Anna Maria Ash. This is London Tonight. And first tonight, the funeral of Sean Williams. 8-year-old Sean was strangled just yards from his home in East Finchley last month. Sally Arthey reports on how hundreds of mourners today remembered a little boy who lived for football.
He was a comedian. He was a character of his own. Sean was such a bubbly kid. He never had a long face on him. He always had a smile.
Lynn Williams and husband John led the funeral procession. Their son dreamt of being an Arsenal footballer. Sean's body was dressed in the team strip, a football placed in his coffin, carried by relatives past the spot where he was murdered to pause outside the school where he was a pupil. Conducting the service, the Reverend Lawrence Hill talked of the evil and morally wicked act that had broken the Williams' lives. He spoke too of the nationwide sense of concern and sympathy.
I can't accept it. I haven't broken. They know it's going to come out, and they know it's going to be anger when it does come out. I've been on the verge a few times.
Controlling that anger today, Lynn Williams thanked the Arsenal players who attended the service. The cortege then moved off for a private burial. In East Finchley, this is Sally Arthey for London Tonight.
And a man has been charged with Sean's murder. Now, a housing scandal that's catching on in the capital. Among those taking advantage, foreign nationals who are exploiting a loophole in the welfare system. They're living in luxury and expensive West End flats, but they're not paying for it. It's the taxpayer who's picking up the bill. Leon Hawthorne investigates.
This is the heart of London. The flats are big, the rents are high. The new tenants are foreign nationals who know our welfare state system will pick up the tab. This man is a refugee from Serbia. He's been in London a year. Now he's looking for a new flat. But who pays the rent?
Our housing benefit pays it for me, and it's just a room with a kitchen in it.
He lives in Westminster, home to a growing number of refugees. Some live the high life, like in this luxury flat for £1,000 a month, because they know the DSS rulebook.
I was surprised with the amount of knowledge that they have. With a very broken English, they explain to you how the system works, and they know exactly where to go and what to do.
Some landlords won't have tenants on the dole, foreign or English, but in a tight property market, many don't care where the money comes from.
The landlord's position, basically, they lie back and collect the income. They know they have a secure tenant.
The rules are simple. If you get income support, you can get housing benefit too. It's all legal, but Westminster is cracking down on some organised fraudsters.
And we picked up a little over £1 million last year in relation to actual discovery of fraud within the benefit scheme.
Most refugees are here to avoid the political storms in their own country, but now they've created one here. In central London, this is Leon Hawthorne for London Tonight.
Other news now, and Rhys Daniels was well enough to leave his hospital isolation cubicle for a few hours today. Rhys has been in isolation at a children's hospital in Bristol since the transplant 6 weeks ago. The 2-year-old from Epping is the world's first patient to have a bone marrow transplant to combat the rare and deadly Batten's disease. It's still not known if he's been cured. Figures today showed that just under 41,000 people have visited Buckingham Palace since its historic public opening last Saturday. That's about 8,000 below a royal full house for the week. But the numbers grew on successive days, and only about 400 tickets remained unsold today. The visitors also spent more than £250,000 on souvenirs, and research found that most liked what they saw. 7 out of 10 visitors who were asked thought the palace should be top of the tourist list. Labour was celebrating today after taking control of Hillingdon Council for the first time in 15 years. A by-election victory yesterday gave Labour a 1-seat majority. Finally, London's air ambulance needed assistance itself today while on an emergency call in North London. The helicopter landed at Elthorne Park in Upper Holloway. It was decided it wasn't needed, but it was about to take off. It slid down a slope, hit a bench and ended up in undergrowth. No one was hurt, but the helicopter damaged its undercarriage door and a stabiliser. It's now back ready for action. The ambulance service say the cause was a very minor fault with the hydraulic brakes. And that's it for tonight. We'll be back at 1:05 tomorrow afternoon. Join us then. Good night.
very good evening to you. Well, a glorious day's sunshine, but the satellite sequence shows some high cloud moving northwards of France into southern parts of the British Isles and Wales. And over the Bay of Biscay, we've got a more active-looking band of cloud, with bringing the possibility of rain to the southeast tomorrow evening. For tonight, though, we are going to have a few clear intervals, though plenty of high cloud, and that in turn is going to bring temperatures up to between 9 and 11 Celsius. That's 48 to 52 Fahrenheit, and a little bit higher as usual here in central London. Tomorrow morning, then, a fair amount of sunshine around, with top temperature 17 Celsius at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then it's going to begin to cloud over during the afternoon, with a possibility of some showers in southern parts of our region. Top temperature 23 Celsius.
Live football is back on ITV. This is incredible. Southend v Nottingham Forest, live this Sunday. It's the perfect start. Remember, football is free on ITV. They couldn't have written a better script.
Stay with us on LWT as Trevor Phillips introduces the London programme.
When it's over. Gone. Finito. The Ford Summer Countdown runs to August the 31st. After that, it's history. Past tense, too late. You'll have missed the chance to buy any Orion or Escort on 0% financing. Passed up a £300 discount on any Orion or Escort Saloon, £800 on any Escort Estate. Lost the chance to get a special edition Orion A Keep for £9,445. There's lots going on at your Ford dealer, so get down there at the double. Pronto.
If you're looking for a really good wine, but you really don't want to pay the earth, then you should be looking for a vin de pays. And this weekend at selected Tesco's, you can taste from their wide range of red, white or rosé vin de pays for free. Vin de pays. French wines for today.
More Vietnam War drama in half an hour when Baker's twin brother decides to visit, but being the wild one leads to almost certain trouble. Tour of duty is at 11:10.
These are my triplets, Samuel, James and Katie. They can be a real handful and keeping up with them can be exhausting. The triplets are 3 years old now and are full of mischief and work as a team. The other day I found them all in the bathroom together. Katie was holding up the toilet seat, James was helping her, and Samuel dumped a whole load of toys down there. I had to fish them all out and sterilise them, and it was quite funny the first time. The next time, however, when it's happened set 3 or 4 or 5 times, it does become extremely tiring and very, very exasperating. And I end up wanting to put all of them down the toilet as well.
If your triplets or twins are driving you crazy and you'd like help or support, call 071 284 5040.
You're watching London Weekend Television, now an investigation by the London programme, which is a change to the advertised edition.
5 years ago this week, the world stock markets crashed on Black Monday, their worst day since 1929. Now the city's dealers are in the news again. This time it's the foreign exchange traders, who last month on Black Wednesday forced the devaluation of the pound, dragged Britain out of the ERM and threatened the political survival of the Chancellor. This display of power has touched off a new controversy about the role of these men and women who control the markets. Are they providing a vital economic service, or are they just a bunch of champagne-swilling speculators who've grown too big for their boots?
Wednesday, the 16th of September, Black Wednesday. London's foreign exchange desks became the focus of world attention as the pound plummeted. Dealers fought frantically to unload their clients' sterling holdings before they became next to worthless. The more they sold, the lower the value of the pound sank. Homeowners watched in horror as interest rates soared by an unprecedented 5% in one day. But the rise in interest rates wasn't enough to stop sterling's slide. By 7:30, Chancellor Norman Lamont had to face the music.
Today has been an extremely difficult and turbulent day. Massive speculative flows have continued to disrupt the functioning of the exchange rate mechanism.
180-40 given cable.
But Black Wednesday also produced some winners.
We've just sold heavily against all the ERM bans, and it's worked today, so we've had a good day.
So how many pounds have you sold?
About $500 million.
$500 million. So has it been good business?
Yeah, it's been really good.
What does that mean to the bank here?
We've had an excellent day. We've made a lot of money, so it's good.
What are we talking about? A couple £100,000?
Probably about 10 million.
Mark Clark seemed to typify a small group of people who were making money whether the pound was going up or down, foreign exchange dealers. If they can guess which way the market is moving, they can make big profits. But many suspect that they can do more than that they can manipulate the currency to their own advantage, and that this is what took place on Black Wednesday. In certain quarters, foreign exchange dealers are now as popular as wheel clampers. Some politicians are so alarmed they believe that the activities of the foreign exchange markets need to be restrained.
In most open markets now, there is some kind of regulator, some kind of regulatory system which tries to avoid excesses. Perhaps it's time to look at that for financial dealers.
We all now know that the movement of currencies can have a profound impact not only on our own personal standards of living, but on the political and economic direction of the country as a whole. What is far less clear is how those movements take place, who sells, who buys, and why. Well, the biggest players in this complex global game work right here in the heart of the City of London. To try to find out just what it is they do and what influence they wield, we spent the week in the company of two dealers in one of the world's largest banks.
6:20 Monday morning.
Go, Lou.
"24-year-old Darren Coote leaves his fiancée Louise as he sets off for another day in the city. Darren is a foreign exchange dealer working for Fujibank, a Japanese firm. An average dealer earns around £30,000 and can double that with bonuses. Darren, however, doesn't live like a bloated plutocrat. He drives a 2-year-old Ford Fiesta. He and Louise, who also works in banking, live modestly in a small 2-bedroom semi in Wickford near Billericay. Like many of his colleagues, Darren is an Essex man through and through. His background is typical of Fuji's dealers. And like all dealers, Darren is highly competitive, constantly worrying about his performance in the dealing room. Even for dealers, these are precarious times.
It wasn't my best week last week, so I should be looking this week to see if I can get some back and get on the right road again. I've had a very good run, so to lose some was, I suppose, expected at some stage, but I don't really want to make a habit of it.
Today looks like a big day for Darren and the team he works with. There'll be a cabinet meeting in the morning and a statement on the coal dispute in the House of Commons in the afternoon. Both could affect the markets. But Darren's already decided what to do with sterling today.
If sterling hasn't already gone a lot lower, to sell it. Seems they didn't back up any of their motives for doing anything over the weekend, and they've still got problems, and they're adding to their problems.
There is one person who could change Darren's intentions if he wished: the boss. Graham Surety is the manager of Fuji's foreign exchange group. He too is an Essex man, and he too had hopes of a footballing career. Graham and Darren often travel in together in Graham's Mercedes. Today, Graham is even more pessimistic than Darren.
I think that at the moment, Darren, that sterling is still going to have its problems. We've been down to below 241 in the Far East. I'm just going to call